Death is inevitable, and one day everyone has to taste it. But some people face untimely deaths, like death chose them on purpose. Exactly a year ago, on this same day, there was a horrible plane crash that killed 250 people. There were 40 high school kids on that Flight 180, going on a trip to Paris. One of them was Alex, a kid who had a strange kind of premonition. In that vision, he saw that just minutes after takeoff, the plane hit turbulence. People started panicking and screaming. Then suddenly, one side of the plane's door blew off midair, and some people flew out with their seats. Next moment, a loud explosion, and in the blink of an eye, everyone on the plane was dead. When Alex snapped out of it, he saw the exact same things happening for real and started screaming like crazy. Because of the chaos he caused, he and some of his friends were taken off the plane and not allowed back on. The plane took off without them, but just seconds later, it exploded midair with a massive blast. Alex's vision turned out to be true, and because of that, he and his friends survived. But maybe their deaths were already marked on that plane, because the ones who survived started dying one by one in weird and mysterious accidents. Everyone died, except one. Her name was Clear Rivers, and she locked herself away in a psych ward just to escape death. On the other side, we see a new girl, Kimberly, watching a news show about the Flight 180 crash. The show was digging into the secrets of that tragedy and the strange deaths of the survivors that happened within a year. Kimberly had a Daytona trip planned the next day with her friends, so she turned off the TV and went to bed early. Next morning, they headed out in the car. After they left, Kimberly's dad saw transmission oil leaking from where the car was parked. He called Kimberly right away to tell her, hoping they'd get the car checked, but there wasn't a single repair shop in a 20-kilometer radius. On that same Highway 14, we see a pregnant woman calmly driving a white van. Kimberly noticed a school bus filled with kids. On the same road, a truck carrying tree logs was speeding ahead. We also see a kid playing with a toy truck and car with his dad. All this started to give Kimberly a weird feeling. Meanwhile, some teens were laughing at the smoke coming out of Kimberly's car, calling it a junker and making fun of them. Anyway, a cop car was right behind Kimberly's car. As soon as the cop got a report about a robbery, he overtook everyone to get ahead. That's when he noticed a truck up front, with one of the straps holding the logs starting to come loose and flapping in the wind. Just then, coffee spilled on the cop and he got distracted. And that's when the chains holding the logs snapped. Huge logs started falling on the road. One log sliced right through the cop's car, killing him on the spot. Next up, a biker died. Then those same teens who called Kimberly's car a junker. They also died in a brutal way. In seconds, that truck turned into a killer for everyone. Kimberly's car lost control too. Meanwhile, a woman and her son had brake failure, and their car crashed and exploded. Then another guy who was staring at Kimberly a while back got into a wreck. He got trapped in flames and his seatbelt jammed at the last second. Then Kimberly's car flipped over, and that monster truck rammed into it, killing them too. And then suddenly, Kimberly woke up, shocked. Actually, all of that was just a premonition she had, but it didn't stop there. Everything she saw in her vision started happening for real. That same old woman, that same truck full of kids, everything exactly the same. Kimberly, now scared, tells her friends that a massive accident is about to happen and they're all gonna die. But her friends think she's just joking around. So Kimberly says, next song on the radio is gonna be an Adele song. And the moment the Adele song starts playing, the smile disappears from their faces. Now they start believing her. To stop the accident, Kimberly pulls her car right in the middle of the road, blocking traffic. The cop behind her notices and comes to check on her. That's when Kimberly tells him about her vision of the upcoming crash. But the officer thinks Kimberly's out of her mind. Right then, the logs from the truck start falling, and within seconds, a massive accident takes place. In the end, that monster truck comes straight at Kimberly and the cop to crush them. But just in time, the cop reacts quickly and saves Kimberly. Thanks to Kimberly blocking the road, a lot of lives are saved, though her own friends die in the accident. During the police inquiry, Kimberly says she had a premonition of the crash, just like Alex Champelaire had before the Flight 180 accident, and he saved his friends. Anyway, all the victims there just wanted to get back home. That's when this guy named Eugene, a bike racer, tells everyone that a month after the Flight 180 crash, Alex and his friends started dying one by one in accidents. Death doesn't spare anyone. Hearing this, Officer Thomas says, Eugene, you're wrong. One of them is still alive, getting treated at a place called Stony Brook. In a way, Kimberly blocking the road also saved a bunch of people, which now means death will come after them one by one. But Tim and his mom Nora didn't believe any of this. Meanwhile, Evan just wanted to get out of all this police mess as quickly as possible. Evan was the same guy who kept staring at Kimberly from his car and was the last one to die in her vision. He had recently won the lottery. After getting out of there, he went home and bought a ton of luxury stuff with the lottery money. Then he threw some old food out the window, poured oil in the pan to fry some snacks, and it spilled all over the stove. At the same time, one of those plastic alphabet stickers from the fridge fell right into his box of corn. Without checking, he tossed it into the microwave. That same day, he had bought Apple products, a fancy watch, and a shiny ring. He was trying them on when suddenly the microwave exploded. Shocked, the ring slipped from his hand and fell straight into the sink. Without wasting time, he shoved his hand inside the drain, and it got stuck badly. Meanwhile, the oil in the pan caught fire and started spreading quickly. With one hand stuck, he tried to put out the fire with the other, but the pan fell to the wooden floor and the fire spread all over. He screamed for help from his neighbors, but no one came. After a lot of struggle, he finally got his hand free. It really looked like death had made a whole plan to kill him, but Evan wasn't giving up either. The windows were shut, so he broke them and made it to the emergency staircase. But the staircase was old and didn't come down all the way, even after shaking it multiple times. It was down just enough for Evan to jump and get off. While climbing down, his foot stepped on some noodles, and he slipped right under the metal stairs. The next second, the stairs dropped and pierced straight through his head. Within moments, the guy who had won a 2.5 car lottery was all over the news, dead. The people Kimberly had saved earlier were watching the news too. These days, Tim had been having a constant toothache, so his mom Nora booked him a dentist appointment. They were supposed to go to the clinic the next day. On the other side, Evan's death had completely shaken Kimberly. She spent the whole night on the internet and somehow found out about Clear Rivers, the only survivor of the plane crash. And early next morning, she reached Stony Brook to meet her. But Clear didn't want to meet anyone. She only agreed under one condition: Kimberly couldn't bring any belongings with her. Kimberly met Clear and told her all about the vision she had. Clear says Alex had the same kind of vision too. He did save us, but a month later, death killed all his friends. In the exact same order Alex saw in his vision, Kimberly goes, "How did my friends die first when they were the last ones in my vision?" Then it was supposed to be Kimberly's turn, but Ivan died instead. That's when Clear realized it was a reverse order now. Death had started killing in the opposite sequence. Maybe something came in Death's way and saved Kimberly, which messed up the order. That something was the cop who had saved her. That meant death would come for Kimberly last. After her, it would be Evan's turn, which is why he died. And before Evan, it would have been Tim and his mom Nora. So now they were next. Kimberly asked, "So how did you beat death?" Clear replied, "You can't beat death, but before it strikes, it gives signs, bad omens. If you can read those signs, maybe you can save others." Kimberly said, "Why don't we team up and find a way to stop this?" But Clear refused to come out of her room. Kimberly got mad and left after yelling, "You're a coward. Death doesn't need to kill you. You're already dead." After that, Kimberly met Officer Thomas. Just then, a flock of pigeons flew over her head. She paused. She felt like it was a sign. Maybe Tim and Nora were in danger. Right away, she rushed out with Thomas to find them. Meanwhile, Tim and Nora had already reached the clinic, and Tim's dental treatment had started. Right outside the building, some heavy construction work was going on. The noise made the whole clinic atmosphere weird. On top of that, the pigeons were really bothering the dentist. One of them even crashed through the window and got into the room. The doctor started chasing it away, leaving Tim unattended. At that moment, a plastic fish hanging from the ceiling fell right into Tim's open mouth. He was awake but couldn't move because of the anesthesia. Luckily, the nurse came in on time and saved him. After the treatment, Tim and Nora left the clinic. The moment they stepped out, Tim saw a bunch of pigeons and got drawn toward them. From a distance, Kimberly came running and shouted, "Tim, stay away from them! You're in danger!" As soon as Tim waved at the pigeons and made them fly away, the crane operator got distracted and accidentally nudged the control lever. The heavy load hanging up in the air dropped straight on Tim, killing him on the spot. Nora was so destroyed by her son's death, she didn't care about her own life anymore. She couldn't be reasoned with. Thomas and Kimberly got in the car to leave when Clear showed up. She had realized that hiding from death wasn't going to work. She knew someone who had deep knowledge about death's design. His name was Jack. He worked at a crematorium. He always used to say, "You can't defeat death. The only way to beat it is through new life." Back then, no one really understood what he meant. But on the way back, Kimberly had another vision. She saw a woman drowning in a lake inside a white van. Her hands were covered in blood. That's when Thomas remembered. During the Highway 14 crash, there was a pregnant woman in a white van. Maybe she survived back then because Kimberly blocked the road, and now death was after her too. That's when Clear started to understand what Jack meant. He had said, "Only a new life can beat death." If they could save that pregnant woman woman from drowning in the lake and get her to deliver the baby, then that newborn life would stand between death and the rest of them. It meant that baby would get to live a full life, and until then, none of the others would die. Basically, they could all live out their lives under the shadow of that baby. So Thomas immediately started trying to track the woman down. That night, everyone planned to gather at Thomas's house. Nora came too, since she was next in line, and Clear, death was pretty much stalking her now. After escaping death again, Clear warned everyone, death can send signs to any of you, so stay alert. But Eugene was done listening to all this, so he and Nora started heading out. As soon as they stepped into the elevator, Rory started getting signals from death. He saw a shadow of a man with a hook. He quickly realized Nora was in danger from someone with a hook. Clear rushed to the elevator to warn her. She hit the button, but the elevator was already going down. Inside, right behind Nora, was a man holding a hook. Suddenly, the hook got tangled in Nora's hair. The elevator stopped, and in panic, Nora tried to step out, but the doors shut on her neck. The elevator's sensor was broken. The next second, the elevator shot upward. Clear had pressed the button from above. A few people nearby rushed to help, but it was too late. Nora died a painful death right in front of everyone, and no one could save her. Eugene totally lost it after seeing that. Freaked out and angry, he pulled out his gun. Now he was fully convinced that death was actually coming for them, one by one, and he didn't want to keep living with that fear, so he tried to shoot himself. But no matter how many times he pulled the trigger, the gun didn't fire. When they checked it, the gun was fully loaded. That clearly meant it wasn't Eugene's turn yet, so death didn't take him. Meanwhile, we see that pregnant woman, Isabella, who got arrested for stealing a van. When Thomas heard about it the next morning, everyone felt relieved. They thought as long as she was locked up, they were safe. But they were wrong. The woman went into labor right there in jail. And since all the squad cars were out on duty, the officer on shift used that same stolen white van to take her to the hospital. On the way, Isabella caused a distraction, and the van almost crashed into an oncoming car. That car had Spectre Thomas and the rest inside. It lost control and slammed into a pile of metal pipes. Thankfully, everyone survived, though Eugene got seriously hurt. They rushed him to the hospital in an ambulance. In all the chaos, no one noticed Rory's friend, Kat. Her leg was stuck inside the car, and she was inches away from being impaled by a sharp pipe. Right then, some news reporters showed up, and their van's fuel tank hit a rock and started leaking. The leaking gas flowed down to where Kat's car was, pooling near the pipe. Kat had no clue and was casually smoking a cigarette. Just then, Rory saved a kid from being run over by a car. That's when Thomas got word. Isabella had been taken to the hospital, and the doctors were prepping for delivery. Back at the car, some mechanics arrived to get Kat out. One of them forced the hood open. That triggered the airbag, which blasted the metal pipe straight through Kat's head. People around turned away in horror. Kat's hand dropped the cigarette, which flew into the gas-soaked pipe below, gas that had leaked from the news van. The very next second, the car exploded, and Rory was blown to pieces. Now it wasn't safe at all for Kimberly and the others to stay there. They jumped into the car and rushed toward the hospital. On the way, Kimberly had a vision of a doctor named Kalarjian. She saw her choking someone. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Isabella's baby's umbilical cord was tangled around his legs. Both mom and baby were in danger. The doctors were doing everything they could to save them. Things got so bad that they had to call in Dr. Kalarjian for emergency surgery. At the same time, Eugene was lying in a hospital bed. He saw the news about Kat and Rory's accident and lost all hope because he knew he was next. Just then, all the windows and doors in his room suddenly started shutting on their own. Then a nearby oxygen tank got knocked over and started leaking after hitting his stretcher. Around that time, Thomas, Kimberly, and Clear arrived at the hospital, and after a lot of effort, Isabella finally gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The three of them were overjoyed, but right then, Kimberly had another vision. This time, she saw that maybe Isabella wasn't supposed to die in that crash. Clear instantly rushed to Eugene's room. As soon as she opened the door, the wall socket sparked. The leaking gas caught fire, and the entire room exploded like a bomb. The blast killed both Eugene and Clear. In all this chaos, Kimberly looked at her blood-covered hands and everything started to make sense. The woman in the white van who fell into the lake was actually Kimberly herself. The new life, Dr. Kalarjian, the ECG machine, all those signs were about her. Dr. Kalarjian wasn't trying to kill her. She was trying to save her. Right after that, Kimberly looked at Thomas and said, "Tell Dr. Kalarjian to be ready for an emergency. To break death's chain, I have to die." She started the van and drove it straight into the lake at full speed. Within seconds, the van sank. Thomas immediately jumped in to save her, but it was too late. Kimberly had stopped breathing. Dr. Kalarjian did everything she could to save her. She gave her CPR, but there was no pulse. Just as she was about to declare her dead, Kimberly suddenly came back to life. She had believed that only by touching death and coming back, the chain would be broken, and maybe she was right. In the final scene, we we see the family of the young boy Rory had saved earlier, but the very next second, a horrible accident happens, and that boy dies a brutal death. One evening, Wendy went to the fair with her friends. Her friends were enjoying the high dive ride while Wendy was clicking pictures of different spots for a magazine. The crowd, the colorful lights, the kids laughing, every moment felt like a story. In between, she clicked a photo of the high dive ride, but when she zoomed in on the camera screen, her heart skipped a beat. The signboard said high dive, but the light on the letter V was off, so it read as die. Wendy quickly looked up. Everything looked normal up there. The V light was glowing just fine, but she felt this strange uneasiness, like it was a sign she couldn't figure out. Wendy's sister Julie was also at the fair, and they didn't get along at all. A few minutes later, Wendy's boyfriend Jason and the rest of her friends, Kevin and Carrie, came back from the high dive ride. Now they were headed to the next ride, a wild roller coaster, and Kevin and his girlfriend Carrie were super hyped about it. Close by, two pretty girls named Stacy and Ashley were hanging out too, followed by a guy named Frankie, a crazy photographer. He was so obsessed with the girls that he always wanted to keep something related to them. That's why he had a custom metal locket made, which hung on his chain all the time. Stacy and Ashley noticed his creepy behavior and started avoiding him. Still, he followed them all the way to the roller coaster line. The entrance of this ride was through a huge devil statue. Right inside, there was a signboard that read, "Once you're in, there's no way out. I'll see you real soon." Off to the side, a pipe was shaking hard, and its bolts looked like they were coming loose. Wendy found all of this super weird. When it was time to get on the roller coaster, she got scared and insisted on sitting in the back seat. Kevin said Carrie could sit in the back with her, but Carrie didn't want to ruin her fun just because of Wendy, and nobody else wanted to sit back either. So they flipped a coin to decide who would sit with Wendy. Kevin lost the toss to Jason, which meant he had to sit in the back with Wendy. As soon as Kevin sat in his seat, he saw someone had stuck chewing gum right in front of him, and now it was all over his hands. He angrily shook it off, and just then, a worker noticed Wendy still holding her camera. The worker immediately called out, "No cameras allowed on the ride!" Kevin quickly grabbed the camera and stuffed it into his pocket. He was still trying to handle everything when Frankie quietly hid his own camera too. He was just waiting for a chance to snap some pics of Stacy and Ashley sitting in front of him. Just then, a guy named Lewis sitting ahead started complaining about his seatbelt. It wasn't locking properly. Somehow one of the crew members got it fixed. Then as soon as the ride started, oil began leaking from one of the machine's pipes, but sadly no one noticed. In seconds, the ride picked up speed, wind smashing against faces, people screaming and laughing. There was energy and thrill all around. Everyone was having a blast. During all this, Frankie's camera slipped from his hands and fell down onto the track. It got stuck right at the edge of the lower track, where the coaster train was about to pass. As the train crossed that spot, a part of it hit the camera. And then disaster struck. With a violent jolt, the coaster track snapped, and the front train, along with all the passengers, crashed down. It was over in an instant. Now it was Wendy's train's turn. Compared to the first crash, their coaster wheel had already come loose, but the train wasn't stopping. Everyone inside was terrified. Suddenly, Lewis's seatbelt popped open and he started dangling off the ride, then fell straight down. The train finally stopped, but in a position where only death could be seen ahead. It was hanging upside down from the track, and the remaining people were holding on, swinging in the air, screaming for help. Slowly, their hands got tired, their grip started slipping, and one by one, they all fell. Wendy was the last to fall, but right then, Wendy snapped awake. It was all a premonition. Everything she saw in her vision was now happening for real, and she freaked out. The operators were just about to press the start button when she started screaming, "The coaster track's gonna break! We're all gonna die! Get me off this ride!" Her shouting caused panic all around. Right away, her seatbelt was unlocked. Right then, Lewis snapped at Wendy. That led to a fight between him and Kevin. Things got tense, and the people in the back cars started getting off the ride. Jason also begged the operator to unlock his seatbelt, but no one listened to him, and the roller coaster was started. Wendy was so freaked out, she didn't even think about Jason. And in just a few moments, the very thing she feared happened. A brutal accident, and Jason and Carrie died on the spot. The crash shook Wendy to the core. She was so mentally drained that she didn't even want to finish her graduation anymore. She was ready to drop out. That's when Kevin stopped her and told her something similar had happened before. A few years ago, some kids were flying to Paris for a school trip. One of the guys suddenly had a vision of the plane crashing. He freaked out, warned everyone, and in the end, 7 kids got off the flight. And right after that, the plane actually crashed. Everyone else died. Kevin continued. Those 7 who survived, they started dying one by one in weird and brutal accidents, just like the guy had seen in his vision. Maybe the same thing is starting with us, since you had a vision too. But Wendy thought all of that was total nonsense. At home, she was going through her pictures from the fair air, and suddenly Kevin's words hit her. What if all that plane crash stuff from Flight 180 was real? All of a sudden, she started feeling like something bad was about to happen again. Meanwhile, Stacy and Ashley had gone together to a tanning salon. The salon was owned by Yuri, someone Stacy and Ashley knew. Lately, Yuri had been fighting with his girlfriend about cheating. On the phone, he was trying to calm her down, telling her he didn't do anything wrong and that he wasn't cheating. While all this was going on, Stacy and Ashley asked for permission to use the tanning beds. While giving them permission, Yuri clearly told them not to take any drinks into the tanning room, but Stacy didn't listen. The mobile signal in the tanning rooms was super weak because of the beds, so whenever Yuri needed to make a phone call, he'd stick something under the back door to keep it from locking and then go outside to talk. Today, he did the same thing. There was no other staff at the salon that day, so Stacy and Ashley could do whatever they wanted. While chatting, Ashley slightly turned up the heat on her tanning bed, and Stacy placed her cold drink on the table, right above an electric panel. There was a warning on that panel saying it should never be set above 250 volts AC. Then she reached up to grab some CDs from the shelf to play music. While pulling out a CD, one of the shelf screws came loose, and that tiny mistake was about to cause a big mess. Meanwhile, the cream tube wedged under the door got squeezed, the cap popped off, and all the cream leaked out. Because of that, the door slowly shut by itself and locked. By then, Stacy and Ashley had already gotten into the tanning beds. At first, everything seemed normal, but after a bit, the cold drink started dripping down and reached the electric panel below. As soon as the liquid touched it, the voltage began to spike, crossing 300 in seconds. Stacy and Ashley started feeling the heat rising inside. On the other side, Wendy suddenly began connecting the dots. Looking at their photo, she felt like Stacy and Ashley might be in danger from a tree. She quickly tried calling them, but their phone was in the clothes they had taken off before tanning. Just then, a gust of wind knocked down a hanger, which hit a fake tree nearby. That fake tree then fell into the shelf, knocking it over, and it landed between the doors of the tanning beds. The temperature inside kept rising. Stacy and Ashley tried to get out, but the fallen shelf blocked the doors, trapping them inside. Meanwhile, Yuri heard them screaming and rushed to the door, but it had already locked shut. The front entrance was locked from the inside too. Within seconds, the tanning beds caught fire. Stacy and Ashley were burned alive. It was now clear that just like the survivors of Flight 180 started dying one by one, the same pattern had started here. The only difference was, this time, the signs of death were showing up in the photos Wendy had taken. Like Stacy and Ashley's photo that night was clicked next to the fake tree, and that same fake tree ended up playing a key role in their accident. According to Wendy's vision, Frankie was next. Suddenly, Wendy started feeling dizzy. She hadn't eaten in a while. Kevin quickly took her out to grab something to eat. On the way, they were looking at Frankie's photo, trying to find some clue about his death. During this, Kevin got distracted from driving for a moment, and a truck driver, who was working beside his parked truck, barely escaped getting hit by Kevin's car. Just a little ahead was a roadside food shop. They parked there and kept looking for hints in Frankie's photo. In the pic, it looked like Frankie was falling down some stairs, or maybe it resembled one of those warning signs on the back of a trailer truck. That's when Wendy started getting more signs of something bad. While they were lost in these thoughts, another car pulled up right behind them. There was already a car parked in front, and at the same time, a truck came from the right side and blocked their exit. Basically, they were trapped from all sides. Just then, the same truck, whose driver had narrowly escaped earlier, started rolling downhill with no one inside. As soon as Kevin saw it, he yelled at the guy in the car ahead to move forward, but that dude was totally zoned out. There was no way out from behind either, so Kevin smashed the windshield of his own car and got out just in time. But the very next second, the truck crashed into their car, and the guy in the front car died on the spot. That's when they saw the locket and realized that guy was actually Frankie. After Frankie, the next one was Lewis, the same guy whose seatbelt wasn't working and who had died in Wendy's vision. Looking at his photo, it looked like some kind of heavy hammer was falling on his head. The next day, they went to meet Lewis at the gym and told him everything that had happened, but Lewis didn't really care much about it. That's when Wendy noticed two swords hanging on the gym wall, exactly like the ones in Lewis's photo. They were trying to warn him when a guy started working out on the weight machine placed right under those swords. During his workout, one part of the machine accidentally hit the wall, bumping into the swords. After he finished, Lewis came to work out on the same machine. That's when Wendy started sensing something again. There was a big statue of a real bear in the gym too, and one of its sharp claws broke off when it got hit by a guy's dumbbell. The claw flew straight and hit another guy lifting weights, messing up his balance, and he fell to the floor along with the heavy weights. That fall shook the wall, and one of the swords dropped right on the cable of Lewis's workout machine, cutting it. Lewis thought the danger had passed, but as soon as he started working out again, his head got crushed. If this kept going, it wouldn't be long before Wendy and Kevin got caught in death's grip too. Before that happened, they had to find a way to break the chain. After Frankie and Lewis, next in line was either Perry or her boyfriend Aaron. Both of them worked at a hardware store where pigeons had made their life miserable. They made the mess, and Aaron had to clean it up. Fed up, Aaron loaded a nail gun and jokingly aimed it at the pigeons. Just then, Wendy and Kevin showed up to meet them. They told them everything that had happened so far and showed them the photo taken at the fair, where Perry and Aaron were trying to hide their faces from the camera. But Wendy still hadn't figured out what clue was hidden in that picture. While talking, Perry and Aaron kept working around the store. Suddenly, Aaron dropped some nails and Perry picked them up using a magnet, then placed the magnet back on a rack. That's when a small mistake happened. The iron rod attached to the magnet hit a chain hanging above. As it hit the chain, one end of it got caught in the key ring of a lift cart nearby, and the cart suddenly started moving. Slowly, it rolled forward and crashed into some oil cans placed ahead. Meanwhile, Aaron was cutting plywood and didn't hear a thing. While chatting, a thought popped into his head. He said, "What if the last person on death's list just kills themselves? Maybe that breaks the chain and saves the rest." Truth is, Aaron knew Wendy was the last one on that list, so he was just teasing her and having fun. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind blew through, and items from the top of the rack started falling down. A heavy sheet of plywood dropped right on Aaron, pinning him to the ground. On the other side, Perry lost her balance and slammed into the nail gun. The trigger went off, and nail after nail shot straight through her face. It all happened so fast, no one could do anything. Perry died on the spot. The cops had no idea what Wendy and Kevin were talking about. In fact, they started suspecting both of them instead. As for Aaron, if they somehow saved him and delayed his death, then he'd be the last to die on the list. If that's true, then the next ones should be the two people who were sitting right behind Perry and Aaron on the roller coaster. But the problem was, the photo didn't clearly show who those two were. Trying to figure all this out, Wendy eventually fell asleep. After she dozed off, her little sister Julie quietly took her bracelet and went out, something she did all the time. A while later, when Wendy woke up, she looked closely at the photo and saw her bracelet on someone else's wrist. That meant the girl in the pic was her sister, and maybe she was next. Panicking, Wendy immediately tried calling Julie, but her phone was switched off. She then called Kevin and told him everything. It was the 300th anniversary of McKinley that day, and to celebrate it, the college was throwing a big event. Wendy figured Julie had probably gone there with her friends. Kevin was already there on security duty. On the phone, he asked Wendy if she had spotted any clues in the photo yet, but Wendy was still confused. She couldn't make sense of her own photo or Kevin's. In Kevin's photo, it just looked like there was a bright flash in front of his face, like a camera flash, or maybe fireworks going off. And coincidentally, there actually were fireworks being set up at the event. As for Wendy, Jason's face looked completely blurred in her picture, and she was wearing a t-shirt that said McKinley. Maybe that was her clue. After the call, Kevin started looking around for Julie. Meanwhile, Wendy also jumped in her car and headed toward the event. But on the way, she started getting strange signs, like something bad was about to happen. Over by the cannon and shells, two guys were standing with a fuse stick used to light fireworks. As soon as the fireworks were announced, they stuck the fuse stick up against the cannon and walked away. Within moments, the stick slid down and hit one of the cannonballs, which rolled and struck a wooden beam that was holding the fireworks cart in balance. By that time, Wendy had also reached the scene. Meanwhile, after searching around, Kevin finally found Julie, but she didn't even want to listen to him. Just then, the fireworks started, and everyone's attention shifted toward the sky. Taking advantage of the moment, a couple of kids lit a firecracker and tossed it under a horse. The blast freaked the horse out, it broke loose and started running wild, triggering panic in the crowd. That's when Wendy figured out the clue from Julie's photo, the horse in the background. That must be the danger. The horse charged toward Julie. Its rope got tangled around her neck and started dragging her. Kevin ran after her and just in time, cut the rope and saved her life. Right after that, Wendy asked Kevin about the roller coaster ride because the girl who sat with her that day was next. That girl was also there with Julie. Just then, another horse freaked out from the firework noise. Its reins were tied to a flagpole. As it ran, the flag yanked hard, and the pole flew straight like a spear, piercing right through Julie's friend. Now it was Kevin's turn. One of the horses kicked him hard, sending him crashing onto the food table. A metal skewer flew from the kebabs and stabbed right into the gas pipe connected to the cylinder. In the next second, flames shot up. Luckily, before the fire could spread, Wendy jumped in and shoved Kevin out of the way, saving his life. After that, the three of them quickly took off and headed home. But just then, Aaron showed up. Seeing him, Wendy froze, because Aaron's full name was Aaron McKinley, which meant, based on that clue, McKinley was the danger. Aaron grinned and said, "So now I'm the threat?" Why don't you just end it all and stop this death chain yourself? Right then, that same cart that had been off balance from the cannonball started rolling and tipped over, launching all the fireworks toward a crane behind Aaron. Everyone stood still for a moment, but nothing happened to Aaron. He laughed out loud and said, "I'm invincible. I beat death. Nothing can kill me." And right at that second, a huge piece of the crane snapped off and came crashing down on him. Just like that, Aaron was silenced forever. 5 months later, we see Wendy traveling on a train with her friends. That's when Wendy started getting signs again. Outside the train window, she saw a blurry face, just like Jason's in that carnival photo. But Wendy still couldn't figure out what Death's next move was. Just then, she saw the number 180 written somewhere. It instantly reminded her of Flight 180, the same plane crash that killed over 250 people. Maybe something like that was about to happen with this train. Wendy looked around, hoping for more clues. That's when she noticed a line right above her. "There's no escaping death and taxes." Wendy panicked. She decided to get off at the next station, even if it wasn't their stop. When her friends asked why, Wendy just said, "Let's get off one station early. We'll walk the rest of the way." As soon as the train pulled into the next stop, Julie stepped onto the train through the very door Wendy was about to exit. Their eyes met, and Wendy sat back down. They started talking. Wendy nervously said, "This feels just like that night at the carnival." Julie replied, "Oh, come on, that all ended with Aaron's death. It's been 5 months now. There's nothing to worry about. Besides, if death comes, it'll take me and Kevin first. You're last on the list." For a second, Wendy felt like maybe she was just overthinking it. Pushing her fear aside, she took Julie to meet her other friends. That's when she spotted Kevin sitting in the corner. It was now clear. Death had brought all three of them back together on this train. Just then, an electrical panel shorted out, the one that controls the track switch. The track suddenly shifted and the train derailed. A brutal crash followed, killing Julie first, then Kevin. Somehow, Wendy survived, but her leg was badly crushed. She was sitting helpless in the middle of the tracks, waiting for help, when suddenly another train came from behind and ran right over her. But it was just a premonition. In reality, before they could even get off the train, that exact crash happened for real, and all three died in the same exact order. One day, Paul was driving his girlfriend Iris somewhere to surprise her. Her eyes were blindfolded. Full of excitement and mystery, Iris kept asking, "Come on, just tell me, where are we going?" Paul just smiled and said, "Just wait a little." Finally, the car stopped. Paul helped Iris out and slowly removed the blindfold. Right in front of her was the shiny, brand new Skyview restaurant opening today. Iris's eyes widened in surprise and she jumped in joy. But the moment she looked up at the restaurant, a chill ran down her spine. She had a strange feeling that something really bad was about to happen. As soon as they reached the entrance, their photo was taken as a welcome. They got into the elevator to go to the top floor, which was packed even though the limit was 8 people. Now Iris started to feel that the elevator might stop in the middle and they could all die. She even got scared when a kid jumped inside the lift. But the elevator didn't stop and they reached the top floor where the view was seriously amazing. The whole place was lit up and people were having a great time. Just then, a champagne cork flew up and hit the chandelier. A sharp piece broke off and fell on the glass floor, cracking it a little. But the crowd, unaware of all this, was still dancing and jumping on that same floor. Meanwhile, Paul took Iris outside for some fresh air and got down on one knee to propose. The whole plan was actually made for this one special moment. That's when Iris shared that she was pregnant, adding a magical touch to it all. Right there, a boy was tossing coins down one by one. A guard told him not to, but the kid didn't listen. Eventually, one of the coins got sucked into the ventilation fan due to air pressure, and the fan blade stopped spinning. Back inside, Paul and Iris started dancing freely after getting engaged, when suddenly Iris saw a terrifying vision. She saw bolts coming loose from one of the tower's beams. The very next moment, the dance floor collapsed, and dozens of people fell down and died. Paul somehow managed to grab onto a piece of broken glass and was left hanging. Before Iris could do anything, Paul also fell and died. Seeing all this, the tower went into chaos. People started running everywhere, trying to save themselves. Right then, a woman bumped into the safe and caught on fire. Meanwhile, because the ventilation fan had stopped, that whole area had already gotten super hot. As soon as the fire touched it, there was a massive blast that took out a bunch of people. Iris somehow escaped and ran toward the elevator, but people kept pushing her back and didn't let her in. In a flash, the elevator got jam-packed with people. The load got so heavy that a big metal part broke off and smashed down on a guy, crushing him completely. A crazy crowd rushed to the stairs, and because of the weight, the stairs collapsed too. Iris was at the back, so she barely made it. But the very next second, a part of the tower broke off and started tilting to one side. A bunch of people slipped and got pulled toward the windows. Iris somehow crawled up and reached out to save a woman behind her. But before she could grab her, the woman slipped and fell. Just then, their eyes went to the grand piano that was half hanging in the air, barely balanced. Everyone near the window was holding their breath. If that piano dropped, it was game over for them. And then, that same coin landed on the piano, making it slide fast toward them. It smashed through the window and fell outside. That kid who'd been throwing coins had made it out of the tower, but the next second, the piano crashed right on top of him, smashing him into pieces. Then, a whole section of the tower came crashing down. Iris was still alive somehow, and her heart was pounding like crazy. That's when she saw a little kid. His mom had locked him inside a cabinet before she died. Iris couldn't do much for the kid, but grabbed him and jumped just in time. But then, it turned out one of her fingers had gotten stuck between two metal bars. Her engagement ring held on for a moment, but in the end, both of them fell and were gone. All of this was actually a dream seen by a girl named Stefani while sitting in class during a lecture. Suddenly, she jumped up in fear, and the whole class started laughing at her. Lately, she'd been seeing this woman named Iris in her dreams over and over. The weird part? Her grandma's name was also Iris, but she had never actually seen her grandma in real life, not even in a photo. That's when her roommate joked, "Go home and figure this out, or one of these nights I'll be the one to kill you." The next morning, Stefani headed home. Right then, she had another flash of that same event. When she got home, she didn't say a word to her dad about the dream. She quietly started searching old photo albums, hoping maybe she'd find a picture of her grandma Iris, but her dad had no clue where the album was. Meanwhile, she ran into her little brother Charlie, who was heading to their uncle's house, so Stefani decided to tag along with him. On the way, she told Charlie everything, that she'd been having the same creepy dream every night for about 2 months, and it always had her grandma Iris in it. Because of that, she wasn't sleeping well, and her grades had dropped. If this kept going, she could even lose her scholarship. But what could Charlie really do about it? Their uncle had 3 kids, Eric, Bobby, and Julia. After meeting them, she went to see her aunt and uncle. Her uncle seemed pretty happy to see her. That's when Stefani told them why she came. She said, "I wanted to ask you about your mom, Iris. I'm seriously stressed out. I keep seeing the same dream. An old place, a restaurant called Skyview." As soon as they heard Skyview, both her uncle and aunt froze. Her uncle said, "I've heard that name from my mom, Iris, but you should stay away from her. She's not mentally stable." Stefani pushed for answers, and that's when her uncle finally told the truth. After their dad died, Iris never let them or Stefani's mom go to school. She'd lock them in the house and scare them, saying if they didn't listen to her, they'd all die. Her madness got so bad that police had to step in and take Stefani's mom and uncle away from her. But even after that, Iris kept following them. After the kids were born, she started sending terrifying letters, full of death threats and photos of dead bodies. Stefani asked, "Do you still have those letters?" Her uncle instantly snapped. "You know all this and still asking for trouble?" he yelled. "Staying away from Iris is best for all of us." When he didn't give in, Stefani turned to her aunt. After some pushing, her aunt finally said that there were a few documents related to Iris in the drawer of the downstairs bedroom. Stefani went to check, and there she found a photo of Iris, and she knew right away. The woman she kept seeing in her dreams was none other than her grandma Iris. Using the address she got, Stefani took off. After a long, empty drive, she was standing in front of a secluded house. A sign on the gate read, "Go away! This is private property. No trespassing." Still, Stefani looked into the camera and said, "I'm your daughter's daughter. I need to talk to you." That's when Iris changed her mind. She let Stefani in and took her phone and stuff. Seeing her granddaughter, Iris looked super happy and said, "You must have gotten my letter. That's probably why you're here." She asked, "How's your mom, darling?" Stefani replied that her mom had left her for someone else when she was just 10. They hadn't been in touch for years. Then Stefani told Iris about the dreams she'd been having. Iris said, "Those dreams that have been bothering you for the last 2 months, they're not just dreams. They're my premonitions. Years ago, I had a vision about what was going to happen at the Skyview restaurant before it actually happened. Right after that, when things started unfolding the same way, Iris freaked out. She warned everyone that the dance floor was going to collapse and the building was going to fall. Death had made its plan, but Iris ruined it. That day, she saved everyone at Skyview, but death doesn't give up that easy. After that, people who were at Skyview started dying one by one in random freak accidents. No one survived, not even Iris's fiance. But by then, Iris had started figuring out every move death made. She never gave it another shot. For years, she's been dodging death. But now things have changed. This time, death is gonna win, because 2 months ago, Iris was diagnosed with cancer. And that's exactly when Stefani started seeing those visions. This wasn't just a coincidence. Truth is, Iris's bloodline was supposed to end in that old accident, which means death's not. For years, Iris had been trying to explain this to her kids, but they misunderstood her, called her fear madness, and stayed away from her. Then she tells Stefani, "I need to explain everything to you through this book, so that after I'm gone, you can take over the responsibility of protecting our family. But it'll take some time to understand this book, so you need to stay here. The outside world is full of danger. I haven't stepped out in 20 years. We're safe here. This is my life's work. Everything is in this book. Every warning, every sign." Stefani thinks this is all insane. She snaps, says, "I can't stay here. I've got college. Coming here was a mistake. This is just a dream." She even leaves the book behind. Then Iris quietly says, "So you don't believe?" To protect her bloodline, Iris finally decides to show her the truth. She stood right at the spot where she had written death's next move in the book. Iris knew death was coming, and the very next second, death took her. It all happened right in front of Stefani's eyes. She freaked out and screamed loud. That's when she realized she should have listened to Uncle Howard and never come here. Today was Iris's funeral. Howard had even sent an invite to his sister Darlie. No one really expected her to come, but she did. Seeing her here made Stefani's blood boil, because when she was just 10, her mom had left her and ran off with someone else, so she didn't even want to look at her and left for home. After Iris's funeral, Howard hosted a small get-together at home. While setting things up, Bobby accidentally dropped a glass. One sharp piece got mixed into the ice and ended up in someone's drink while making cocktails. Meanwhile, Stefani started reading Iris's diary, and things finally began to make sense. Just then, a photo fell and the glass frame shattered. One of the broken shards slowly slid across the floor and reached right to Stefani. Iris had said, "If death gives a sign, don't ignore it." Stefani got the message, and the very next moment, she took the car and rushed to her uncle's house. Meanwhile, Bobby and Charlie were bouncing on the trampoline like little kids, without a care in the world. But then the trampoline mat slowly started to rip, and right underneath, there was a sharp metal rake lying on the ground. From there, they even called Howard to come join them. He was playing Jenga with Julia at a glass table, but when they called, he placed his glass down and walked over. Just as he climbed up the trampoline, Darlie noticed the sharp rake below. Everyone thought she had just avoided something terrible, but that too was part of Death's setup. By now, Stefani had also arrived. The very next second, the trampoline mat ripped and Julia got distracted. Her hand hit the Jenga tower and it crashed straight onto the glass, causing a sharp shard to fall to the floor. Howard didn't notice and stepped right on that glass shard. The pain made him scream in agony. And just then, the sharp rake rolled over and hit the switch of the lawnmower nearby, turning it on. Howard, limping from the cut, stumbled right into that running machine, and the very next moment, he died a brutal death, which meant every single word Iris had said was true. Now Stefani starts reading Iris's diary, trying to figure out how to outsmart death. That's when she finds the name JB, someone who somehow cheated death and is still alive, hiding. After this, Stefani puts together Iris and Paul's family tree. They had 2 twins, Howard and Darlie. Then Howard had 3 kids, Eric, Bobby, and Julia. Darlie had 2, Charlie and Stefani herself. And now Stefani finally understood. Death had its eyes on this entire bloodline. She gathered the whole family in one place and laid everything out with proof. Iris's diary listed everyone who was there at Skyview that day. People who were supposed to die, but were saved last minute by Iris's vision. But fate isn't that easy to change. In the end, death spared no one, except for 2, one little kid and Iris, who had been dodging death for years. That little kid was none other than JB. Everyone else, one by one, started dying in separate freak accidents, and they died in the exact same order Iris had seen in her vision. Iris died in front of Stefani's eyes just to prove it was all real. Stefani explained everything, but no one really got it. Julia said, "We weren't even born back then. We weren't at Skyview, so why would death come after us?" The answer was simple. Death took years to reach everyone, and in that time, those people had kids that were never meant to exist. Now death was coming for them too, in the same order, so they had to stay alert. There was a pattern to how death worked. It went after each family based on age, starting with the oldest. In Howard's family, he was the oldest, so death started with them. Now the next one was his son Eric, then Julia, and Bobby would be last. On the other side was Stefani's family. First her mom Darlie would die, then Stefani, and finally the youngest, Charlie. Death's pattern was clear, oldest to youngest, one by one, wiping out the whole line. Right then, Stefani's aunt snapped at her. "Enough of this crap. Iris's madness already made us switch cities so many times. I'm done." Stefani kept trying to explain, but nothing worked. Now Eric, the next target, he worked as a body piercer and tattoo artist. That night, his boss handed him the studio for a few hours and left. Eric finished all his appointments and later sat alone to ink a tattoo on his own arm in memory of his dad. Suddenly, some stuff fell off the shelf by itself. A glass jar smashed hard on the floor. Eric got startled and stood up. That movement knocked a big container of cleaning liquid off a chair. It spilled all over the floor. As he looked at the broken jar, a chain hanging from the ceiling swung down and somehow hooked onto the ring in his nose. Eric quickly tried to unhook it, but the chain got tangled in the ceiling fan. It started yanking on his nose ring. He was in serious pain. Just then, a lamp got knocked over and hit the spilled cleaning liquid. It lit up in flames. Eric finally managed to rip the chain off, but he fell straight into the fire. The next morning, the news was out. Luckily, Eric had been wearing a leather jacket, so he barely escaped getting burned. Stefani, shocked, asked, "How's that even possible? How are you still alive?" Eric smirked and said, "Your theory's trash. Death can't even touch me. I'm invincible." Right then, a truck zoomed by, missing him by inches. Everyone froze for a second, but Eric still didn't stop messing around. Even though Stefani warned him, he started dancing all over the back of a garbage truck, kissing it like a joke. So Stefani turned to Julia and asked her to talk some sense into him. But Julia was done with all that too. She didn't listen and just headed out for a run. Not far away, a guy was using a blower to clear dry leaves while two kids were kicking a football nearby. Suddenly, something fell and hit the guy with the blower from behind. He tripped and dropped the blower, which slid away and blasted dust straight into the kids' eyes. With dust in their eyes, the kids lost focus and the football went flying, hitting Julia right in the head. She stumbled and fell into a nearby dumpster. Right then, the garbage truck rolled up and the driver picked up the dumpster with Julia still inside. She was screaming, but the driver had his music blasting and didn't hear a thing. Meanwhile, Stefani and Eric saw everything happening. They ran toward the truck to help her. Stefani climbed up on top of the truck and looked inside. Julia was reaching out, trying to escape. Stefani reached for her hand, but it was too late. Julia got crushed inside. The whole thing was horrifying. Stefani was devastated. She started thinking maybe she messed up the sibling order or something, but the truth was something else. Eric's mom, Brenda, came forward and shared a personal truth. She said that Eric actually wasn't Howard's son. Before Eric was even born, things between Brenda and Howard started falling apart. Around that time, Brenda got close to Douglas for a while, and from that relationship, Eric was born. Hearing this, Eric just stood there, mouth wide open. Now he finally understood why Douglas was always so kind to him, why he always helped him out. That meant there was no mistake in the order. Next up was Bobby. Before anything happened to him, the whole family got together and decided to find JB. According to the diary, JB worked at a hospital called Hope Rever, which was just about an hour away. They went there right away to meet him. Turns out JB was one of the people Iris had saved once before. Years later, Iris found him again and taught him how to cheat death. Together, they set up a cabin where none of the usual things that trigger the events were used. For years, they kept Iris supplied with food, water, and medicine inside that cabin. That's why Iris stayed safe there for so long. Bobby told JB, "I can't spend my whole life locked up in some cabin. There's got to be another way." JB said there were actually two options. Either Bobby had to take someone's life so he could inherit the remaining life of that dying person, or he had to fake his own death. Years ago, a woman tried this trick. Her doctor declared her dead for a few seconds, then brought her back to life. That broke the cycle of death, but that method was super risky, so Iris never tried it. Not everyone's lucky enough to come back to life after dying. Then JB said, "I'm sick like Iris was. No one can escape death. You're all gonna die, and my turn will come last." Since JB was the last one to die in Iris's vision, his turn would really be last in real life too. After understanding all this, Eric somehow convinced Bobby to fake his death and come back alive. They throw dust in the family's eyes and immediately break off a peanut butter cookie from the machine. See, Bobby was allergic to peanuts. The moment he ate anything with peanuts, his throat would tighten and he'd start choking. Eric's plan was to give Bobby this cookie to knock him out for a little while, then give him medicine at the right time to bring him back to life. But then a huge mistake happens. Something hits the nearby MRI machine and it suddenly powers on. As soon as Bobby starts eating the cookie, he begins to suffocate. He struggles to breathe. The MRI magnet is super powerful and everything quickly goes out of control. All the metal stuff on Eric's body, the rings in his nose, ears, everything, get yanked hard and fly off with sprays of blood. The next moment, the MRI magnet pulls Eric, along with his wheelchair, inside the machine. He's holding Bobby's allergy medicine, But it's way too late now. Trapped inside the MRI machine, Eric dies a painful death, and right after that, Bobby also dies. Eric wasn't really part of Iris's bloodline. Maybe this was punishment for trying to mess with death's path. Now it's Stefani's family's turn. Stefani's mom decides they'll stay inside the cabin to keep the kids safe. Then they all get on the bus and head out. On the way, Death tries to kill them several times, but somehow they keep dodging and finally reach Iris's hideout. Then Death tries one more trick. Electric wires start sparking, and the sparks fly toward the cabin where gas is leaking. Stefani can't get off the bus because her seatbelt is stuck. She tells her mom, "Don't worry about me. You go to the cabin. If you survive, then nothing will happen to me." Dolly agrees and runs to the cabin. But just then, the gas cylinder explodes. The blast is so fierce that Dolly dies on the spot, and the bus flips into the water. Charlie somehow tries to free Stefani from her seat and finally gets her out. But by then, it's too late. Stefani's breath had stopped. Still, Charlie doesn't give up. And finally, his sister touches Death, then snaps right back to life, meaning they tricked Death and now they're safe. A few days later, the siblings go to a party where Stefani gets a sign of something bad about to happen. Meanwhile, a woman a little ways away goes to buy cookies. A coin falls out of her purse and gets stuck in the part that switches the train tracks. Back at the party, Stefani's dad introduces her to his friend, who's a doctor. As soon as he hears about Stefani's accident, he says, "You didn't actually die. Technically, you weren't dead. Your stopped breaths probably started again, but your heart didn't stop during that time. That's how you survived." Right then, a terrible train accident happens. Now Death is after them again. They run with all they've got, but no one can outrun Death. In the end, Stefani and Charlie's time runs out too.